On today's show, the San Diego Padres start up their next series against the New York Metropolitans, and we're going over the pitching matchups, whether or not the Padres can take advantage of a team that has been in free-for-all, and a lot more. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Tuesday, September 16th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for nearly 6 years now, not just for this podcast, but also various other outlets, including JustBaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode, guys, is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Be sure to check that out, and be sure to check out the YouTube channel for this show as well. If you're an audio listener or if you're a video listener, either way, leave a comment in the comment section for any of your questions that you might have. Love responding to you guys, and you can still follow me on Twitter/X at Javapena. You can still do that. I'm just a little bit hibernating right now. But otherwise, guys, today's episode, we are doing some pitching breakdowns. We're just talking a little bit more generally about the Mets because I unfortunately was unable to secure one of the divas, dare I say, of the Locked On Network, Mr. Ryan Finkelstein, host of Locked On Mets. I'm kidding, of course. Super nice guy. Unable to do that. So instead, you're stuck with me talking about the Mets. But as someone in the New York tri-state area, right, as someone who's part of that realm, who lives in the old dirty Jersey, right? I'm so upset that I said it like that. I have a little bit of insight. But first, let's just talk plainly about some of the pitching matches. Before we get into all the other fun stuff, we got some mailbag questions we're going to look into as well. Firstly, for today's game, it's looking like Michael King versus Clay Holmes. This is probably the most important single start of the series, right? I would say. Just because seeing a healthy Michael King bodes well for this team going forward in a number of ways, not just for whether or not they could potentially take that first place crown from the Dodgers. It's looking a little bit unlikely right now, but if they did, Michael King could be a huge part of that, and also just plainly in the playoffs, right? Having this guy back is going to be huge, and in my opinion, as long as he has the rest of the season where he looks like himself, has some innings, goes deep into the games enough, gets a couple strikeouts, shows just overall stuff, right? I think that he could be the game one starter, potentially. I could see that. I could see them saying, you know what, this is our guy. But I think it's more likely that we're going to see Pivetta. We'll also see Pivetta in the series as well. But I will say with Michael King, yes, his last start was good in terms of the ERA, right? Like, let me be very clear. He was very good last start. He goes 5 innings. In his last game, I believe against the Reds, giving up just 2 earned runs on 3 hits, 1 walk, and 2 Ks. But he did give up 2 home runs, and Tatis did make a potentially game-saving grab, snatching a ball that should have been like a 2-run shot. So it could have been 4 earned runs. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind. He did get hit a little bit hard, so I do want to see what he looks like in the start. What's his pitch mix going to be? Because this is also something that last year, when he was becoming the ace that we know and love, he was also putting together his pitch mix, deciding which pitches to use the most, right, amongst his arsenal. And he's got a great arsenal. Don't be me wrong. I have very little doubt that Michael King's going to be great. I'm just saying in the short term, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get a little bit of struggles. And yes, the Mets have been bad lately, but you know how I am. Sometimes a team that's bad, they're due for a bounce back. They could do it against Michael King in New York, which, by the way, I might be going to a game. I might be going to tonight's game, actually. We're going to have to see. I might try, because what else am I going to see the Padres in the city, right? So we're going to see if that happens. But overall, big start for Michael King, and I'm expecting decent things. Clay Holmes, on the other hand, has had like the definition of a solid, okay year. I just really think it's fascinating, this turn lately in the sport of relievers into starters. Now, some it hasn't worked, right? The guy who was on the Giants and now at the Red Sox, I'm blanking on his name, wasn't very good, right? And hasn't been very good. I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm looking it up. But, you had Seth Lugo for the Padres, right? He was a big breakout. You have Clay Holmes now. And Mason Miller might end up being the guy next year that the Padres are going to try it out. I personally think that that's what's going to happen. I think that that's why they gave up a huge pitcher in the form of, a huge prospect in the form of Leo DeVries. I just think that they're like, you know what? Michael King, we'll see what happens with him, but then you just got Pivetta next year. You've got Darvish. You've hopefully got Musgrove. If you concern Mason Miller to have started, that rotation gets a lot more firm. So I am excited about that for sure. As I look around, Jordan Hicks is his name for the Red Sox, currently rocking an 8.2 ERA. He has been dreadful, one of the worst contracts in baseball. But that's it for the first game. Clay Holmes, decent starter, decent test for this Padres team. And then next, we've got in game 2, Mr. Nick Pivetta taking on David Peterson. David Peterson having a little bit of a regression year. He was much better last year. He started off awesome. The Mets just basically have right now a team full of starters that are fine, and you feel great about them as your number 3, amazing as your number 4, revolutionary as your number 5. But when you start getting into your number 1 and number 2 stars, they do leave a little bit to be desired. They just don't have that guy that you put on the mound that you're like, that's our dude for the night. They don't have a Pivetta. They don't have Michael King when he's on. They don't have Joe Musgrove when he's on. They barely even have a Yu Darvish when Yu Darvish is on, right? So it's just been one of those seasons for them, and they've been really bad lately. Like they're 2-8. 2-8 in their last 10. They've been really, really struggling, and they're 77-73. And I was wrong. Remember when we were talking about the Reds? The Reds might come in and swoop that wild card spot from us because they lost against the Orioles. They played poorly against the Twins. Then if you don't beat we're out of that now. It does look like the Padres are all but guaranteed to at least get a playoff spot. The only question now is what their seeding is going to be and who they play first round. But overall, the Mets, I mean, this is a team that just got quadruple swept by the Phillies, losing 4 to them. Then they lost 2 out of 3 to Texas. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Reds. They've been really, really bad for a while now, frankly. It's not even just their last 10. In August, I'm pretty sure that they were pretty dreadful as well. Yeah, they lost a series against they tied a series against the Marlins. They lost a series against the Nationals. They lost against the Braves. They've just been a team that's been not in full free fall, but in enough of a fall that the San Francisco Giants are currently a team that might overtake them. This is a team that's sold at the deadline, by the way. So New York Met fans, if you're listening to this podcast for whatever reason, if you are, go listen to Locked On Mets, firstly. But it's a type of team that you look at this, you sign Juan Soto, and for you to fall out of the wild card spot potentially to 2 teams, the Reds and the Giants, who sold at the deadline, or the Reds, which they didn't sell at the deadline, but they're the Reds, right? If you were to lose that spot, that's a tough pill to swallow, and I would be surprised if there weren't any sort of firings after that, especially after the Juan Soto contract. And that's just unfortunate. That's just unfortunate for Mets fans everywhere. And speaking of Juan Soto, I haven't talked about it, but I believe this will be the second time that the Padres face him. He faced him the first time in Petco. He got a little booed. I wasn't necessarily a fan of that. We were the ones who traded him, right? But overall, he got a little bit booed and didn't do anything. And this year, I want to talk about what Juan Soto has been doing, as well as the last game in this pitching preview. But first, I need to take a second to have some water because I'm thirsty. Just kidding, guys. The first thing I need to talk to you about is our friends over at Nutrafol, because you've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, yeah, okay, whatever. I doubt that works. You know what I mean? I don't trust it. There's so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones, sorry about that, are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach, and you can feel good about knowing it is a NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies product. Shout out to Nutrafol getting that in there. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol, Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Go check that out. But also, don't be, if you're in the tri-state area like me and you're trying to check out a game, you're trying to get tickets. Well, let me tell you, folks, there's nothing like catching the game live. The energy of the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But getting the tickets can be complicated. That's a little bit of a tough part. The cues, the login screen, surprises, whatever, all the fun gets taken out of it. And that's why I use our friends over at Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee, which means you'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And honestly, it's just faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets before. It's great. They have zone deals. You just pick a zone in the stadium and they pick the seat. You get a discount. Right? It's really, really cool. I love it. And prices actually tend to go down closer you get to the time. So if you like just figured out that you're going to be free, it's even better, right? So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go! Download Gametime today. And just like that, everybody, we are back thriving and vibing into the second segment of this here podcast. Remember, go check out the YouTube channel, viewers and listeners, youtube.com/LockedOnPadres. Send any questions in the comments section you might have, and I will be sure to answer them. Like I will be answering some in just a minute. But first, let me just finish the pitching preview. We already talked about Michael King versus Clay Holmes. We got Nick Pivetta versus David Peterson. Didn't say anything about Pivetta because he's Pivetta. I don't think there's anything else to say much at the time. But then the next game, dare I say the most interesting of the week, right? Randy Vasquez versus Jonah Tong. Now, you might be wondering, who the heck is Jonah Tong? 8.49 ERA. He's a prospect guy, and he's looked really sharp at points, right? Don't get me wrong. He has not been amazing, like I said, 8.49 ERA, but we all know how the Padres can be sometimes when it comes to guys that they should beat. I'm just saying the ERA is actually pretty inflated right now. His first start against Miami, he goes 5 innings, gives up 1 earned run, 4 runs, but only 1 of them was earned. And then he goes 6 against the Reds, giving up 4 earned runs on 4 walks and 6 strikeouts. And then the last start, he gets absolutely blown up by the Rangers, which again, Rangers, another team that kind of sold and has been a little bit weird. All their team players are hurt, and they might make the playoffs too. Baseball's so weird. But anyway, he only goes 0.2 and gives up 6 earned runs in that start. So the ERA is a little bloated. He showed some promise. I doubt he's going to be like a giant factor and immediately be an all-star pitcher. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that given that he's shown a little bit of potential already, and the Padres kind of penchant for not doing great against weaker pitchers lately, and especially pitchers they haven't seen before, this could be a little bit of a fight. And Randy Vasquez getting the start, much deserved, especially with the way he's been pitching lately. Just kind of, again, filling up innings. And against this Mets lineup that has struggled this year, that is a huge boon for them, right? So shout out to Randy Vasquez. I haven't given him enough credit on this show because, again, I just thought that based on everything you see, walking every batter, not striking out batters, not putting the ball on the ground, putting the ball in the air a lot, and having a decent hard hit rate, not giving up too much hard hit contact, but that shouldn't usually outdo everything else. And yet he has, and it's been great. I still think his destiny is a long-getting reliever, multi-inning reliever. I still think that that's where he might thrive the most. But given the Padres' struggles with the starting pitching, given the fact that Dylan Cease has been completely unpredictable, give me Randy Vasquez, man. He's just been the guy that's been easier to trust. Last thing I want to mention really quickly for fans of the show, if you're wondering why Juan Soto has been dragged through the mud this year, it's because it's New York media, first of all. But you look at his stats, you're like 262 average, 396 on base percentage, 525 slugging, 5.4 wins above replacement. Him and Lindor have been awesome. Pete Alonso slumping, but he's been awesome. This lineup does have some hitters in it, man. That is going to be a test for the Padres. Juan Soto, though, I will say, I feel like a lot of people have been giving him crap. Rightfully so, because he just doesn't have a lot of RBIs this year, as much as you would, I think, like, and particularly as many as last year. He's got 98 RBIs this year. Oh, wow. Interesting. Has he been like hitting? Wow. I did not realize Juan Soto's been going crazy lately. I mean, that's not a surprise, but I'm just a little bit surprised. But at one point this year, he was just having the ultimate regression to the mean. I just wanted to bring this up for fun's sake, where in the first half, he just wasn't driving guys in high leverage situations. He wasn't, right? At least at the beginning of the year, his WRC plus was at like 40, right? It looked like it was a regression from the year before because he had like a 200 WRC plus with runners in scoring position. But he's back to normal. He's still a huge threat. Is he going to get revenge against the Padres this week? We'll see. I hope not, though, because Juan Soto is too dangerous of a player. But again, I think that this is going to be, while not nearly as bad as the Colorado Rockies, another series in which the Padres offense needs to show up. They cannot afford to have another week where they're just terrible, right? And they vanish. Or you got some home runs from Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill. You had some good moments from Fernando Tatis Jr., who's been slugging a lot more lately. You even have some of the other guys at the bottom of the lineup producing a little bit. Even Elias Diaz and Freddie Fermin had good weekends. Can you keep that up against a pitching staff that isn't bad, but it's certainly not great? Can you hit enough? Because certainly this is not going to be a lineup that's nearly as porous as the Colorado Rockies. So it's going to be a good test for the Padres for sure, and a test genuinely for a team that I still think the Mets probably make the playoffs because I just think the idea of what I mentioned before of these non-contending teams that sold at the deadline, stealing a spot for them is just like almost too bad of an outcome, I think. And maybe I'm just imagining how crazy New York radio will go if that were to happen. But I just don't fully see it. So again, that's just me. We shall see how the series pans out. But now I want to respond to a couple of questions from the mailbag, some leftovers. First of all, just a small thing. At FatAllN says, FatAllN13 says, don't promote Blue Sky, bro, you know? And I'm like, all right, look, I don't want to get into politics and all that. I don't really do that on this show, but it's like, guys, it's a social media platform. Because I've seen this before. Both ways, frankly, for Twitter and for Blue Sky. The one thing I could say is that Twitter actively has logistical things. I'm not talking about the opinions posted, but logistical things that make it worse, right? The rage baiting, the engagement farming, that is not there nearly as much, if at all, on Blue Sky. So that's why I tend to use it. And I'm not getting inundated with ridiculous ads and AI ads or whatever it is on Blue Sky. So that's why I plug that sometimes, because I do use it. But I'm not using any social media right now, so that's the big thing. That's why I thought this comment was funny. But moving on to one other little comment that I thought was harsh, but I kind of understood. At M. Castleberry 1980 says, Dodgers flat out tried to hand us the division, and we decided no thanks, and sucked right along with them. I don't know about this damn team sometimes. Censored a couple of the words, but I kind of echo the frustration, which might surprise people, but I really do. This is a team that had the lead for the division, and then you go and get swept by them, and then you win 2 out of 3, which was nice in the next series. But getting swept by them was truly a disaster, and they've just had these bad series where it's like, the Dodgers are really, like my man Castleberry says, they really have been begging someone to finally take the division this year. And obviously, D-backs being bad, the Giants being bad, and the Rockies being historically bad make that, that proclamation a little bit less appealing to some people. But for the Padres, for you to be right there when they're not playing at their best, I understand the Padres have had some injuries, they've had some unfortunate things go their way, but still, this was your chance. And if this is a team that isn't as good as a lot of the other playoff teams, right? If you want to look at certain things, you can say the Padres against teams above 500, they're 45-45. Right, and they have a run differential of plus 63, which is good. But you look at the Brewers at 173, the Cubs at 126, right? You look at the Dodgers at 120. You even look at the D-backs still being plus 30, despite all the stuff they've been through. The Philadelphia Phillies, 126, right? The New York Mets, plus 46. It's just, they do leave a little bit to be desired. I still think the Padres are a good team, but I understand the frustration. So this series is going to be a big one to see. Again, I'm really scared of that Cubs team. It might not matter if the Cubs don't have the most pitching in the world if the Padres don't show up with their offense, because the Cubs certainly will. But folks, we're not done yet, of course. I got to talk to you about one more sponsor, and that is our friends over at the Duel of Fandom. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for every week's kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. For any of the type of bets and parlays and over-unders you want, FanDuel is the place to go. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing. As always, I appreciate your guys' comments, just like I always appreciate the routine weekly commenter, Mr. Ramamurdy9938, who says, Schilt is not the problem and everyone needs to lay off him. Our bullpen was gassed and we never scored more runs. And as for Javier, I don't give a damn what you wear or if you have it shaved. Anybody who doesn't want to see what you look like can listen to the audio version of the podcast. This is a shout out to one comment I got last week that was like, bro, you look like you rolled out of bed and all that stuff. And not an entirely untrue thing. There were a couple days when I rolled out of bed because I do work from home. What can I say? But thank you, Rama, and I agree. I think that Schilt, look, again, I repeat what I said for Fun Friday with my man Jake. I repeat what I said last Thursday when I talked about, which granted it was a little bit of a, I'm not going to lie, I'm not above it, the engagement Beatty headline, which I had a feeling was going to work specifically after that game. my vibe is just, I disagree with the Arraez thing. There's been a couple moments where I was like, I don't know if I would have bunted Jackson Merrill there. But apparently Jackson Merrill, as Jake talked about on Friday, he did that himself. Some people said Laureano should have bunted in that game so they could have the tying run move to third base. So a fly out gets him home. But my thing is, like, Ramon Laureano has a 900 OPS. The only decision I disagree with Mike Schill, forget the bullpen nitpicking and all that stuff, is putting Arraez number 2. That's just me. And speaking of Luis Arraez, the Arraez cult has made a return. Mr. Tony Sue says, blaming Arraez for not producing in the number 2 spot? Well, actually, although his OBP and average has dropped a bit, it's not like between Tatis and he haven't been getting on base ahead of Manny somewhere a tad less than 50% of the time. It's just that Manny has forgotten how to hit for the past several weeks, agreed. As you describe in this video, except for a couple homers over the past couple weeks, Manny hasn't been hitting at all. An exaggeration? No, not an exaggeration. We talked about this on Friday. Before this series against the Rockies, which boosted the numbers a little bit, he was hitting 199 since August 1st. Like, genuinely really, really bad for Manny Machado. He says, you'd like to think that when a runner's in scoring position situation exists, that the bopper in your lineup can rise to the occasion and hit at least 400, but Manny is in a rut. I know people who like slugging won't agree with me, but more often than not, those are the situations any kind of hit can usually drive in a run, and so this is definitely a situation. It's better to just hit a single, if not a double, into a gap somewhere and not hit a home run. Manny looks like he's trying to win every game hitting a home run, but if it's not happening, then just good solid contact into a gap should be enough. If you want to hit a ball into the air, blah, 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 they're up to 4 gaps to aim at. If the pitchers make you hit ground balls, they're up to 5 gaps to target. O'Hearn following Manny has also cooled off too, but I haven't seen enough of his hitting to understand what he does. I don't remember that he really aims for contact, although he might. To me, he looks like he just hits the ball as hard as he can, and the ball goes wherever by chance. First of all, the idea that you can read into that last part, that hitting the ball hard, good thing. I don't know how many times I have to say on this podcast that hitting the ball harder, good thing. It is never a bad thing to hit the ball hard, right? Within reason. As long as the rest of your skill sets don't completely atrophy as the result of that. Hitting the ball hard is good. The idea that O'Hearn is just hitting the ball wherever and hitting it hard is somehow worse and not worthy, is worth criticizing. But Luis Arraez, who just kind of swings at literally every pitch, and that's not a problem. And no, don't get me wrong, I love my singles. But no, Rama. I'm sorry, not Rama. Rama would never. No, Tony Sue. The problem with Arraez is that on second base, his singles are so softly hit that they are not a guarantee to score everybody. That's the problem with Luis Arraez and why it does not make sense that he's batting number 2. And again, I don't know how to explain it. 100 WRC plus. He's got a 320 on base, 286 batting average. It's not horrible, but if you're not slugging and if you're becoming an easy out every single part of the game, what I mean by that is if you swing at every single pitch, I'm going to keep repeating this until the Arraez cult cools off. If you swing at every pitch and you also don't walk, you are literally an easy out for the pitcher because that means that they know I can throw you garbage when I have 2 strikes. And not to mention the amount of times that Arraez takes pitches. He's actually been better a little bit. He hasn't been doing that zombie, first take pitch where he just stares at the pitcher the entire time and doesn't even bother looking at the ball. And he sometimes did that for strike 2. I have seen some improvements there. But for me, again, I just don't know where this is coming from. I said it with the Dylan Cease thing, right? Well, Dylan Cease is 3rd in strikeout rate. He must be great. No, because he's been bad in every other category. Walks, average exit velocity, pitch mix, the type of sliders that he's throwing, the movement. He's been bad at that, right? So he hasn't been a good player this year. He hasn't been horrendously, awfully god tier bad, but he has not been good for this team, especially this year, even if the peripherals suggest otherwise. Luis Arraez, this is a guy who's expected weight on base of 293. That's the lowest of his entire career, right? So he's not getting unlucky, and he swings at everything. This isn't good, and I just really wish people who like Arraez knew how to look at quite literally, and I mean this quite literally any other number than batting average. It's the only thing that he has, and it's not good. If he was good, then why would he be getting benched? If he was good, why does he have the second lowest WRC plus on this team since August 1st? He's not good, guys. Maybe he can return to that form. This is why I talked with my guy Paul Holden of Locked On Rockies. Maybe he returns to the form back in the day where he can be that 340 hitter. When he's doing that, he's a great player. But no defense, no speed, no good contact skill. I mean, he has good contact skills, but not good plate discipline. He doesn't walk. It's not a good player. And that's why I don't like that he's batting second. But you also brought up another thing. As for moving O'Hearn, Tony Sue says, into the number 2 batting spot, you might take a look at the fact that he's done terribly in that spot. The Padres have tried him there, and I can't remember a single hit in that position. That's probably no reason for him to do that badly, but that's what's happening, and he's never bunting, so you get the double whammy. More often than not, it's been a non-productive out. So first of all, Tony Sue, I've seen some of your comments on the channel before saying that bunting is statistically not good. So now it is good? So now it's not good that Ryan O'Hearn doesn't bunt. Or Luis Arraez, whoever you're trying to say here. Okay, that's interesting. And for moving O'Hearn into the number 2 spot, I hate this logic because O'Hearn has had 3 games and 12 total plate appearances this year in the 2nd spot. They haven't tried him there, right? Now, that might be a good example for why they might not want to. Maybe Schilt is saying, hey, look, I'd like to put a new hitter number 2, but Ryan O'Hearn himself is not used to that spot. So instead, we're going to have him bat number 4, maybe even occasionally number 3, but number 4 or number 5 mostly. So it's not necessarily because they want Arraez number 2, but maybe it's just because Ryan O'Hearn isn't as experienced in that spot. I would say, whatever, let's try it. I still don't understand why trying something is bad, right? But overall, they need to fix this lineup a little bit. That's what I think. But in fairness, hey, if Ryan O'Hearn isn't comfortable in the number 2 spot and they want to put Arraez there and just keep it there, okay, I'm just telling you, as I've said many times before, let's not even use an advanced stat, right? We don't even have to do that. If you just look at batters who have had appearances, the most appearances, batting 2nd in all of Major League Baseball this year. That's right, all of Major League Baseball this year, right? This is not like, I'm not going advanced, nothing like that. The players who have like the least amount of production in that spot, it's Luis Arraez. His OPS is 704 right now. Mookie Betts, 763. Rafael Devers, 878. Bobby Witt Jr., 851. Kyle Tucker, 872. Gleyber Torres, 760. Nolan Schanuel on the non-playoff team Los Angeles Angels, 743. James Wood, 825. Kyle Schwarber, 957. Juan Soto, 941. Olsen, 876. Ketel Marte, 905. Jackson Churio, the 2nd-year rookie, 807. Aaron Judge, who wasn't always at 2nd, but still, he has an 1100 OPS there. Wyatt Langford, 2nd-year player, he has an 800 OPS. Basically, here's what I'm getting at. You finally get to a bad OPS player with Matt McClain when it comes to guys who hit a lot in the 2nd spot, and he's got a 610 OPS, right? So that's the one player that I can find, really, and Jesus Sanchez and Andrew McCutchen that he's been better at. Luis Arraez, he's just not good right now. I'm sorry. He's objectively speaking just not very good. And I don't know what else you got to see. You know what I mean? But let me tell you, that's about it for today's edition of the Locked On Padres podcast, guys. The only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Going to think of some other random topic to do for tomorrow's show, as well as, of course, recapping the game. And I might be at this one in person, so if you happen to be there, say hi. Or I don't know how you would say hi, because I don't have the socials open right now. Huh, that's interesting. Well, maybe leave a comment on the YouTube. I don't know, but still reach out, and I'll see if I can say hi to you if you would like to. But otherwise, until next time, stay safe, and of course, stay faithful. My Friar Faithful homies, take care.